George R. R. Martin loves killing characters before they reach their full potential, and the Targaryen dynasty is littered with examples of heirs that would have been great kings. But out of all of these great men, who would have been the best king of Westeros?
We're going over the top 5 now, and at the end, we'll actually rank the top 5. So it's going to be gauntlet style if you've been watching our videos recently. We're going to have 5 guys up there, 5 Chads, possibly. And as we go through, we're going to see if the next guy we analyze has the cojones to bump off one of the guys who's already in the top 5. And at the end, when we have our selected 5, we'll then rank them from best to worst, which requires eventually going into some spoilers on these characters for both House of the Dragon and Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So we're going to go out of chronological order with these characters in this video. The first half, or the first, handful of these characters are going to be ones that are not spoiler requiring. And then the last half of the video, or the last section of the video, that's when we're going to bring in these characters where we're going to need to talk about a little bit of spoilers in order to properly rank them. So let's get going on this.
Last thing before we get into this, I just want to go over the criteria. There's really just 3 aspects. One, they have to be male, and we plan on doing a separate video for all of the women that were passed over that potentially could have ruled the Seven Kingdoms. The second one is they actually have to hold the title of Prince of Dragonstone. And third, we actually have to know a little bit about these characters to make a good assessment. As much as I'd like to break down Rhaegar and his son Aelor's ability to rule the Seven Kingdoms, or lack thereof, or we're just going to focus on the characters that give a little more meat when it comes to their characterization. Okay, so first one up, and arguably the last one up, the prince the lords dreamed of being king, and Robert still dreamed of him till his dying day, the last dragon, Rhaegar Targaryen. And because he's the first one up, he's automatically in the top 5. But I feel a lot of his glazing by the people around him is because they're comparing him to his father, the Mad King, constantly.
We did a video the other week of ranking Targaryen fighters, and that actually, just thinking about that video, gave me a little bit more respect for Rhaegar. Not that I'm not really a big fan of Rhaegar in general, but I think that he's definitely worthy of our top 5, at least for right now, dude. I think he's a pretty formidable warrior against Robert Baratheon. He seems smart. He's got kind of a well-rounded interest list, a little bit gay, right? A little bit kind of cringe. Playing the guitar in the corner of the club, kind of the party, waiting for somebody to come in here and hear it, and then they'll be like, oh, dude, that's so deep. Except in his case, it's like the lute or the harp or something like that. Who knows? That's how he bagged Lyanna. They fall for it every time. I guarantee he'd throw out his bros just in order to get one night with like a woman. It's a bad situation, I'm sure. That's just what I'm inferring from him. But overall, I think he deserves to be the top 5 for now.
Next one up, Aemon Targaryen, not the Maester, not the Dragon Knight, but Jaehaerys' first heir. Served as Master of Laws to his father's council and never was handed the king. But he did have the hand in marriage to, we can only assume, the most beautiful Baratheon bride. And then made Rhaenys Targaryen, who canonically has black hair, who we see in House of the Dragon, with white hair for whatever reason. And it was known as the Queen That Never Was. He goes automatically into the top 5 right now, but every time I look into this guy, every time I look deep into this guy, I just find something new I like about him.
Yeah, he's fine, dude. I like his attitude. I kind of like the choice in, I do like the choice in women, descendant of the Durandons. I like his various military campaigns. He wasn't useless at all. He helped in various battles with his dad and brother, the Stormland invasions, stuff like that. He did die against Myrish pirates, which is kind of embarrassing in a way. It was really the first battle that he led, and he ended up dying, and it was almost like an accident that he died in. So
yeah, it was like bad luck. Like, oh yeah, I missed my target. Oops, hit the prince.
Yeah, right in the throat. But so it's bad luck. But I think in general he's kind of an underrated Targaryen. I really didn't know that much about him, because it's really glossed over in Fire and Blood. So I kind of like him, to be honest with you. I think he's fine.
Yeah, Dragon Rider. Is he the first one to ride Caraxes, the Blood?
He claimed him. I don't know if he's the first one.
But the next one up here, he might be the first one off the board, but we automatically put him up here on the top 5 anyways. But Aegon, the Uncrowned, the Unbrained by Maegor over by the God's Eye. Yeah, not a big fan of this guy. He was pretty young when he started to do this, but is it bravery or stupidity that he went up against Maegor? I don't know, but we'll never know because he's dead, and he rode Quicksilver into battle, which is not a great look. Not a great look, this guy.
I have a hard time considering Aegon's decisions here really his own. I think he was pushed into conflict with Maegor by his mother, sister, whatever. But what does that say? It says he's not even in charge of his own faculties. How great of a ruler was he even going to be? I don't think so. He's going to be a puppet king. So not a fan at all. This guy's going to be off the list, but he's in the top 5 very temporarily.
Okay, next one up here, and I believe this guy is a dark horse candidate to hang out in the top 5. Viserys Targaryen, the Beggar King, named Prince of Dragonstone after his brother's death at the Triton. And people trash this guy a lot, but if you put him at any other era within the Targaryen dynasty, where he could have either been a dragon rider or been surrounded by the Targaryen infrastructure that ruled the realm, you would be seeing nonstop thirst trap videos of this guy on the internet. You would not be able to escape them. And instead we get, this version of him, which kind of reminds me a little bit of George Costanza. So maybe that's why he has a soft spot in my heart. He makes all these, he has great aspirations, and then he makes all of these elaborate plans to ascend to these aspirations. Then he finds himself, at the end of the day, surrounded by smelly idiots in the Dothraki Sea. I feel bad for this guy, and despite all of this, I still feel he's more Targaryen than his sister Dany.
100% he is. This guy has no dragons. He actually had great prospects coming about. The reason that he wasn't able to be put on the throne was purely betrayal. It was purely betrayal from absolute Neanderthal animals. Maybe it's Vizzy's fault to some extent, for getting into business with people who have such a little understanding of civilized conduct, and what it's like to honor a deal and like shake hands and follow through on things. Khal Drogo took one look at Dany, that white queen, that white goddess, and he's like, dude, that's going to be mine. I don't care if I have to betray anybody. He has no foresight at all. And look what happened to him, dude, because he prioritized Dany so much. He died. She's such an idiot, right? So Vizzy 3, I feel for him a lot. I think he had a lot of great prospects. No dragons. Still called himself a dragon. I love the redefining. It's badass. Take it from us too soon, guys.
Next one up, Baelon Targaryen, known as the Spring Prince, and also Baelon the Brave, which he got this name after he made his first trip down to the Dragon's Pit, and unprovoked hits Balerion, the Black Dread, the greatest dragon to ever be in Westeros, on the snout, which honestly seems more like a bully than being brave. But he's mostly known for being the father of King Viserys and Daemon Targaryen, who we see in House of the Dragon. And knowing he's the father of these two, I wish we could have seen this guy on screen. I want to meet the guy that fathers these polar opposite sons. But Baelon, before he dies, he became the Prince of Dragonstone after his older brother, Aemon, died. Served as hand the king to his father, Jaehaerys, for a couple years, and then died by a glorified tummy ache, which... with all that being said, what are your thoughts of him possibly ruling the Seven Kingdoms?
Yeah, like the whole appendicitis thing. It's like, oh, my tummy hurts, oh no. But it's like, yeah, also kind of deadly, though, at the same time. I'm kind of back and forth on whether or not I think he's a bitch for that. But in terms of how he'd be as a king, I don't really see a reason to think that he would be like a bad king. He's not overly passive, you know what I mean? I don't think he'd be ruled by somebody else. He's not overly assertive either, so I don't think he'd be like the most strong king in the world, but I just don't have any reason to think that he'd be weak. The brave thing, I don't know if the whole brave nickname should have stuck for his whole life. I think you're right about the Spring Prince, but I mean, listen, there is something to be said about winding up that fist like that Donkey Kong punch wind up and then just smashing Balerion right in the snout. Like, that's something else, man. Like, it is. Listen, you wouldn't caught me you wouldn't catch me doing that, So he was brave at least in that moment. I don't know if that's a reflection on how he's going to be as king. Maybe sign me up. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think one of the negatives I have towards him is he has a sister wife. I'm not a huge fan of incest. I think I can confidently say that. Official stance of the channel. Not big fans of incest here. So having the sister wife, don't like it. But he produces 2 male heirs, which is very important if you're trying to, step up and want to rule, because it would create a more stable reign as king. Because you can see Jaehaerys, as all of his heirs are dropping off, how much turmoil it caused as the heir was trying to be secured for the next king or queen that's going to sit there on throne. So, or him having 2 heirs is good. He also has Rhaegar. I think that's a good thing for him. So, I'm just trying to throw all these positives out here because I think he might be getting close to like the middle later on here. All right, so we're getting to our spoiler section here. So if you want to leave, this is now the spoiler part of the video. So let's go into George R. R. Martin's favorite little stinker bingus within Westeros, Daemon the Rogue Prince. I'm looking at this list, Gator. Do you think he's able to bump off the Uncrowned, or does he stay out of the top 5?
No, I think he bumps off the Uncrowned. I don't see any reason why not. Like, he's not going to be the best king ever, but I feel like he'd be more of an absentee king, if nothing else. You know how he gets later on in the war. He takes a very passive role. He goes and kind of does his own thing. He's much more of like a traveling mercenary than a king. But if he was put into that position, I don't know. I just feel like he'd be like as long as he had a good hand, I think he'd put his hand in charge.
Yeah.
And then he'd be out just vibing, possibly on miniature campaigns. It depends on how he wants to run the kingdoms and what kind of conflicts he wants to start. I know a lot of people think that he's just such like a hawk and he's such a warmonger, but I don't really see that, not without a purpose. Like I just think he's more of a mercenary type of a guy. I don't think that he would go and start giant wars. It wouldn't be the worst situation ever. I think he'd just be an absentee king, which I do think is better than Aegon the Uncrowned, who would be a puppet king, because that just leads to problems every time.
Like you were saying, Daemon, if he sat the Iron Throne, it'd be hard to keep his attention. He'd be like, hey, over here. Nope, we're doing this. We got to do this. We got to finish this before we move on to that. So, keep focus over here, please, Your Grace. But I could see him also being very similar to Robert, but not having or maybe Daemon would size max his waistline while he's in there. Maybe take a page out of Rhaenyra's playbook. Yeah, I think he's a wanderer, so it'd be kind of hard to see. But he has 2 heirs, right? So if we want to say that, he has 2 definitive male heirs that it could get passed down to. So he would have somewhat of like a stable, claim there. But yeah, he's got Riz, he's got drip. What else do you need out of a king?
Yeah, I mean, we saw how he was at the City Watch. If that's a representation of how it's going to be in the 7 Kingdoms, people talk about like a police state or whatever. But if the police state is deployed exclusively to like suppress the absolute worst, scummiest criminals around, like rapists and murderers and child molesters and everything, it's like, dude, yeah, listen, be my guest. As long as you leave law-abiding citizens alone, that's totally fine. We have no reason to think that Daemon's going to incorporate some law like, worship Daemon Day, and if you don't agree, then you're going to die. Like, that's just not going to happen, dude. Come on.
It's not the worst day. It's not the worst day. Worship Daemon Day. But yeah, you don't know whether or not the streets will be completely clean from all filth like he did with the gold cloaks at one point, or will they be filled with, sluts and murderers and rapists? You don't know. It's a complete mystery bag for me for Daemon. But when he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's very naughty. Spank that boy.
Okay, let's move on here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you think about Jacaerys Velaryon, the heir from Rhaenyra, who claims to be the Prince of Dragonstone? Does he bump off any of these guys on the top 5 for you? He has negotiating skills, right? We saw that with the Aarons, the Manderleys, and the Starks when he goes up there right before or like right as the lead up to the Dance of Dragons. He is a dragon rider, so that's kind of cool. But I don't know. Is there enough there for you to think I'm going to back this strong boy?
It's hard to say. He vibed with Cregan in the north. Like in the book version, he was up there just vibing, total bromance, possibly even married the bastard sister of Cregan. It's pretty cool, man. I think it's a good story, but he also arranged for the total disaster of getting his brothers across the narrow sea. Just completely screwed it up. It's like his one thing he was ever actually tasked with, other than just going and, having like a 2-week vacation with Cregan Stark. The actual like responsible thing he was tasked with, he completely biffed. All right, got one of his brothers, taken for a long time, and the other brother arguably became a depressed freak because of that situation. And then he basically just died right away at the first sign of trouble. Jacaerys did. So huge L. I do not think he bumps off anybody on this list. He's a strong boy, but not strong enough.
Yeah, I would love to see people in the comments argue why he would be better than Viserys III. I think a lot of people are looking at Visi 3 over there being like, no, he shouldn't. Jacaerys is such a good, honorable guy that wanted to do the best for his realm, and he was learning the language of High Valyria, and what else was he doing, Gator? He was hating on bastards. I don't know. There's just not enough for me to like him, and Visi 3, he has a soft spot in my heart. So next one up here, Baelor Breakspears, the war hero, also known as the Hammer, which, I don't know, of those 2 nicknames, Breakspear sounds way cooler, but the Hammer's not that bad of a nickname, too.
Yeah, dude, Breakspear's cool. I think Breakspear, for now, does come into the top 5. I'm trying to decide who exactly I want him to take out, but he has a lot of, his reputation kind of precedes him, He's a great tournament fighter, of course. He has a lot of Dornish escapades. Go back and watch our actual Targaryen fighter ranking if you want to know more details about this guy. But I'm trying to think of who exactly I would want to bump off for Baelor.
Yeah, it's hard because, like, as you think about that real quick, he is not a Targaryen diehard. When his nephew is struck by Sir Duncan the Tall, he doesn't go Targaryen, superiority. You can't do that ever. But at the same time, for his potential ruling, if he were to be king, he looks more Dornish than he does Targaryen, which worries me on many levels. But one of the issues in Westeros right now is the Dornish influence, and a lot of people are getting pretty upsetty spaghetti about that because a lot of them are being brought into court. And I don't know if he would have the ability to, I don't know if he would have the ability to, but I think he would have the ability to navigate that properly. And also his wife is Dondarrion, so getting some like little Stormlander blood in his children as well. So and those are rivals, right? The Dornish and the Stormlander.
Yeah.
So he might be able to navigate that and figure out that complex issue there in King's Landing. So maybe, as much as I love Vizzy 3, does he have to go? Or does Daemon have to go? Which one?
I kind of convinced myself there with my Daemon thing. Normally I would cut him out because Vizzy 3, you know what, as painful as it is to say, I think Vizzy 3 does need to go because we just don't have enough like experience from him.
Yeah, we don't have enough experience. He deals with a really weird situation, which I don't know any of these kings, or heirs, would have to deal with over in, Essos with the Dothraki. So I don't know how any of them would have handled it. I guarantee you Daemon would have acted pretty similarly, but at least we get a little more visuals, or I'm going to say depictions of Daemon being in a ruling situation, and I, for the most part, like what he does. So Baelor Breakspear is up in the top 5. Next one up here, who, I don't know if we can go through this really quickly. Valarr, the young prince. There's really not much to know about him. He's not a great jouster, and all of his children are stillborn, so if he were to be king, if he were to rule, he would have a very bad time of trying to, navigate that situation of not only not having dragons, but also having a succession crisis happening during his rule, trying to figure out who actually would be king next. So I think not top 5 for me.
Nope, doesn't even count. We know nothing about him.
What about his cousin, Daeron the Drunken? Does he hit the top 5
Dude,
for you? Do you think
same.
Daeron the Drunken has an opportunity?
Same. Come on, no, get him out.
He has dragon dreams. He
Oh,
can
dude,
see the
just like Helena.
He's not so raving the whole time. If you could gaze into the future.
Can you imagine, dude? All this future events are happening in this Song of Ice and Fire world that we know about, and Daeron, he secretly knows about all of it. He gets to see the Weirwoods, and he gets to see Bloodraven in the future, and he sees Dany, just like Helena did, sitting naked with the dragons. He sees all of it. Isn't that so cool? Yeah. He could be the best king because the best kings tell good stories. They know all the stories, and he knows all the stories.
He knows all the stories. Well, I think if Robert's rule wasn't that bad for a lot of people, then Daeron the Drunken's rule might not be that bad. If you just thought Robert was just a drunken idiot the entire time, might not be that bad. But okay, next one up here, his brother Aerion Brightflame Gator. Does he beat Daemon or any of these other people as possible great kings or great rulers that were heirs in waiting?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't go on the list either. This is a crazy. This is a crazy thing, dude. He's just kind of a dick. That's all it is. I like his style. Like with some of these other guys, he's got the riz, he's got the drip. In the book, he's really got the drip. That's one of the coolest drips in Targaryen history. He's got the logo, he's got the colors, he's got the horse. But, dude, show-wise, as we're dealing with right now, as you guys know, absolutely terrible. And if you remove the actual drip and the appearance, this guy's pretty useless. He fucks up this tournament, makes a fool of himself, and the ensuing, trial of the 7, and then he just basically is exiled. That's basically all that happens to him.
Right.
And then we don't. That's it. There's nothing. No one has confidence in this guy.
Yeah, he fights with the Second Sons over in Essos when he said he was exiled. Comes back, fights in the Third Blackfire Rebellion.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Doesn't do anything.
We don't get much detail about that. Yeah, for all we know, he's just like a backup dancer in all of these great events. You don't think it's pretty cool that he drank wildfire thinking that he would become a dragon? You don't think that has attributes that would get you on the Iron Throne?
I think it definitely does, man. But he rolled the dice, and it's whatever numbers he was looking for, he didn't get them. So
I need a guy like that. I need a guy who's willing to drink wildfire thinking he's going to do the best for my country. I need that guy.
You're going to need an army of those guys because they're only going to last one go each.
Okay, well, what about the last guy on our list here before we rank our top 5? Duncan Targaryen, a.k.a. Prince of Dragonflies. Does he make the top 5 for you?
Dude, this might be Simp Supreme. It's hard to know. Like there's a lot of contenders for Simp Supreme. I guess he's not a simp though because he does get the girl, So, but
yeah, what do you call that? If it's he gets the girl, but he acts like a simp to the point where he gives up the Iron Throne, his claim to the Iron Throne.
Yeah, he gives it up
for a girl.
He's also
for a lowborn girl.
He's also like a smaller stature guy and like skinny and all this. Does not live up to his namesake whatsoever. And then his attitude to boot, he's like a happy guy, I guess, but you don't want some cheerful dude who's just gonna, okay, go with the flow kind of thing. Go with the flow. I really love my wife. Like that's not a king. Is that a king to you? Come on, that's not a king.
Yeah.
No,
happy
it's not.
Happy wife, happy kingdom.
Right. See, that's just wrong. You don't want.
Look at Jaehaerys. Look at Jaehaerys. His wife hated him, and he ran a very, very well kingdom. United the realm.
Hell yeah, dude. Built the King's Road, all that stuff. I mean, him and his wife, they had a decent relationship early on, but as things went south, Jaehaerys' rule only got better. So Duncan, it's the lowest of the low. He's out of here.
Duncan got dunked. Okay, now top 5 here. The bottom of these to rule, I think, has to be, it's either Daemon or maybe Rhaegar. I just think Rhaegar is boosted a lot by the fact his father was just so unappealing to people, and he was just unorthodox in his punishments and his trial by combat by choosing fire against the Starks. I mean, there's nothing in the rules to say you can't do that. But.
Yeah, it's kind of high IQ. I think that Daemon is probably the lowest. I know Rhaegar gets boosted, but I think Daemon is still the lowest. He best case scenario, like you said, he's going to be an absentee king. That's not a king. He might choose a great hand to rule in his stead, but that's still, he's not a great king for that. You know what I mean? It's better than a great hand to rule is if you had a great hand and a great king. So no, I think Daemon's lowest easily.
And I also think he'd be great if they were in war, right? If Westeros had to go to war with some person. I like Daemon in there, sitting there, making all the calls. Okay, well then who's your number 4 for...
I think it has to be Rhaegar just because we don't know that much about how he would rule. Like you said, he is definitely boosted. And I could see him even being below Daemon. I could see that for sure. But unlike Baelor Breakspear, which we'll get to, he doesn't have a lot of these traits that show that he's going to be a compassionate king or care about the small folk or not be a Targaryen supremacist. He might be exactly that, and he's just now motivated by this weird magical shit, which is almost kind of reminiscent of Aegon the Fifth, where they get obsessed with this kind of lore aspect of like the Targaryen history or like the prophecies of Westeros. You don't want a king that's trying to make prophecies come true because then the lives of the common folk or even the noblemen are just inconsequential because it's like, you're all just a piece of the puzzle, guys. You all have to die. Trust me. It's for the greater good. You're going to love what's going to happen. It's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, there's either two realities that, or there's two options for the realities Rhaegar is in. Either one, he's obsessed with prophecy, and that's the reason why he had to go after Lyanna and leave his wife to have a third head of the dragon, or he's a Coomer, and he ran away, either kidnapped her or they ran away together deeply in love. Either of those three options are not ideal in your ruler, and you need somebody that's putting the realm first, even though you might think he's putting the realm first. You got to be more realistic of what you're doing, not just... It's almost like a cult leader where it's like, oh, I'm going to save the whole world, but I need to have all these. I need to have a concubine of women.
Right, yeah.
I need my dick wet constantly, otherwise the world will cease to exist. I don't know. Rhaegar,
we're not buying it, Rhaegar. Come on, man.
Yeah, not buying it. But who are you buying for number 3 here?
Tough, really
this
tough.
Is hard.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Now, I think I might want to go. I might want to go Baelor.
Yeah,
I think so. What, are you feeling him for second?
Yeah. No, I just don't know, because I'm trying to think of like when they get into power and when they're in power, stability for moving forward. I think Aemon might be third just because he only has one daughter. He could have had more children, and I don't think they go into detail if they tried to have more kids or not. It's a Baratheon, which I like. It's not an incest baby like Baelon has. But Aemon only has a daughter, and that's going to create instability, and you're going to have another succession crisis. So I don't know. I think... I would say Aemon first, then I think Aemon's my number 3. But why do you think Baelor over Aemon? Aemon is master of laws, never became hand of the king, but he was like getting groomed to make that next step up there. But Baelor was hand of the king, and I guess in defense of Aemon, his daughter did marry the most accomplished seafaring lord in all of Westeros with Corlys Velaryon. So I guess he has some things backing him here, but I don't know. I just think Baelor's better.
I just think. Oh, you think Baelor's better, or you think Aemon's better?
I think Baelor's better. This is hard for me as I'm trying to like go into all these attributes. Who's better here, or who has the more support? Who actually is in a? Because I think if Aemon inherits the throne, he's in a very stable area. He's going to have it on easy mode with a dragon. The only thing is the succession crisis, because his daughter does not have an heir just yet. But if he lives long enough, maybe he can have a a Laenor inherit it, as much as people probably don't want it, but he could have a Laenor inherit it. But with Baelor, he has the whole Dornish issue of integrating properly, and he doesn't have any dragons to override his will on Westeros.
He doesn't, but that's almost a good thing. You know, it's almost like a check and balance sort of situation. More powerful isn't always good, and I guess we're also kind of biased with like I don't know what you call the bias. It's like a low information bias where we have very little information about Baelor, like in detail, and all of it's good. You know, that little information that we have is good. And I'm talking about like his personality and his demeanor and the way he handles situations and addresses people of all different like, creeds and stuff like that. And when he does this stuff, you see it contrasted too with Maekar, right? So it's definitely a bias that I can't really get over. I just can't see a reason why Baelor wouldn't be probably the best king here. You know, I can't.
I know.
It's just hard for me to explain why he wouldn't be. You know, I understand the Aemon pluses for sure, but I could just see more possibly things going wrong with it. The succession thing alone is big, but also the dragon thing is huge. I'm hugely anti-dragon biased here. You know, I don't like it at all.
The dragons make it easier to rule if you have them, right? So the advantage goes to the other two, but it doesn't make them a better king. Just makes it easier for them to rule, right? You know, it just...
All right, it could be bad.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it could be bad. And there's going to be a civil war happening with the Targaryens. I don't think, whether Viserys or Jaehaerys acted the most correct way possible or not, the Targaryen civil war was inevitable with the power growing at the top there with all the dragons. So I don't know if Baelon or Aemon could have prevented the Dance of Dragons. I really don't know. I don't know. I just... Do you want to just put Baelor? There's too many POVs and people talking about Baelor and glazing him for us to just dismiss it.
Yeah, you can't. It's impossible. So listen, if you want my honestly, I think
Baelor number one.
Yeah, I think Baelor needs to be number one. I think Baelor needs to be number one,
and then
Aemon probably number 2 or 3. It's so hard now because again, the succession thing is really getting to me now. Because Baelon. I mean, he did not have a succession problem whatsoever. It's pretty.
No,
he didn't. So it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. I think I want to go Baelon number 2, Aemon number 3.
I think we'll do that. I would love to hear people's top 5, how they rank it, but any day of the week I could just move Baelon just down a peg because still not an incest channel. We don't like incest here.
Oh, come on. Vice is nice, but incest is best.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this and smash that like button.
Or not. We don't care.